Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deck Tech. I'm Ian Duke, and with me is Mr. Christian Calcano. Welcome.
Thank you.
How's your weekend going so far?
Not bad. Draft didn't go as well as I would normally like, but so far my standard deck has put me through the day too, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, your standard deck's looking pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're calling it Blue-White Spirits, although there's a little bit more to it than that. It's kind of more of a blue-white flash, blue-white tempo type of a deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of in your own words, could you just give us like a 1-minute overview of what the deck, how it works and how it functions?
Yeah, honestly, like the deck is really good at playing at instant speed. So like the deck normally the best draw possible is just to curve out like 1 through 4, like Thraben Inspector, maybe Smuggler's Copter, Spell Queller, Reflector Mage, and then top it off with Gideon, and then try and close out the games fast. But the deck could also play a control role, and yeah, mostly like there's a lot of things you can do at instant speed. Also Avacyn at 5. And so pretty much like with Spell Queller and other things, like it's really hard for your opponent to like play around like when you have open mana, because you could have anything. You know.
It sounds like it has like sort of an aggressive mode, but also can shift gears and be a little bit more defensive and kind of reactive to what the opponent's doing.
Yes.
Sounds great. So let's jump into the individual cards here and take a look at what we got. So kind of a smattering of different things here. Walk us through this kind of eclectic group of cards here.
Yeah. So. You know, obviously, like our only 1-drop is Thraben Inspector, and then we also added a Ceremonious Rejection just like for the times where we're on the draw. Like, it's really good against a Copter, of course, and we expected like some colors decks to be big, but Thraben Inspector, obviously, it's great because it gives us another turn 2 play, as well as like having a creature to crew a Copter, and yeah, like I said, with the clues, you know, playing at instant speed, etc. So that's pretty much why we got those. Copters, like, you know, the boogeyman of the format.
Right, just a great
goes
card.
in almost every deck.
Any deck that can use it, yeah.
Pretty much. And then Sky Whaler Shot was just a removal spell that we like lately. It's really good against Copter, so it doesn't allow them to get the attack trigger in, and it's also good against other decks that are playing like Elder Deep Fiend or like against Avacyns, etc. So that's why we got those in there.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Let's take a look at what we have next. So here's a collection of creatures here. These are kind of, you mentioned the boogeymen. These are the boogeymen of last format in some way here. We haven't seen a ton of Spell Queller and Reflector Mage in this new standard post Kaladesh, but this deck seems like the perfect home for those cards.
Yeah, exactly. Like Spell Queller is obviously still really good. And, you know, I'm really happy to be having 4 in my deck, especially since Aetherworks Marvel is like one of the biggest decks in the room. And, you know, against them, it's really hard for them to, you know, beat this card. And then we have Selfless Spirit to, you know, protect not only our Spell Quellers, but our Copters as well. And it also has the interaction with Avacyn that allows us to flip it, you know, when we want.
A ton of sense.
And Reflector Mage is just another good card that curves out well with Copter. Lets us bounce one of their creatures, and then also activate an attack on the same turn.
Now, have you found that since, you know, Collected Company rotated out and those Bant Collected Company decks have kind of gone down, you know, Bant decks have gone down in popularity, are people playing decks that are more susceptible to Spell Queller and Reflector Mage, like sort of not counting on them showing up as much?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people have mostly like forgotten about Spell Queller, and you know, it might be in like some people's sideboards or whatnot, but you know, it's like I said, it's obviously still a really hard card to play around, and you know, if Aether Marvel works, we expected it to be a big deck, and that was another reason why we have it.
It seems like an awesome card against that deck for sure. So that sounds great. Let's take a look at the next couple of heavy hitters here.
Yeah, Gideon is just awesome. It's not like as great against red-white, but you know, as I mentioned earlier, like when it comes to curving out, like Gideon on 4 is obviously what we want. Like I personally, like most of the time, I find myself like embleming a lot, or you know, we could just make a knight and use the knight to crew the Copter as well. And then Avacyn, we just felt was really well positioned for this tournament, especially against the red-white decks.
Yeah,
like
it makes a lot of sense.
Avacyn, most of the times, like when I play the red-white deck against Avacyn, like if they ever got to 5 and had it, the games felt pretty much like unwinnable. So, and you know, I mentioned with the Selfless Spirit, it lets us flip it when we want, so it's nice.
Plus it plays into your instant speed game there as well. You can just leave all your mana on tap.
It was nice. You can also like play the Avacyn, and then with trigger on the stack, like activate a Copter, so you can block. So, you know, it also lets us play defense pretty well.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Taking a look at the next tier, just kind of rounding things out a little bit here. A little bit of Spirit Tribal in the form of Rattle Chains there. How often do those interactions come up?
A few times, like, it's nice to just have like a flyer, just another like flash 2/1 flyer. That also like it protects our spell quellers, and it also allows us to play our selfless spirits at instant speed. So maybe if our opponent has like a fumigate or something, kind of works like another Avacyn in a sense, like flash it in, sec, etc. Negate, just obviously a great card, and on the play, it's it hits Copter, Stasis Snare, same thing, another Copter target, but it also, what's important is that it hits Emrakul, which is, like, Emrakul Pro Instance is obviously a really hard card to kill, but if you have Stasis Snare for Emrakul, sometimes taking your turn doesn't have any much effect.
Yeah, yet another reason that it looks to me like this deck is pretty well positioned against the Aetherworks Marvel decks. Yeah. Very cool. Taking a look at the next tier, just kind of rounding things out with your mana base. Anything particular to say about the mana? Is it good? Is it bad?
Not much. Like, I mentioned to some of my teammates how I thought maybe having only 3 prayer streams was okay, just because the games where like our first like 3 land drops are like 2 prairie streams, it just like hurts the deck in the sense that it can't curve out the way it wants to. But other than that, I still think the mana base is really good. Like, pretty much our lands almost always come into play untapped, which is very nice, obviously, and lets us play our game.
Yeah, it looks like just a really clean, consistent deck. Looks really well positioned against Aetherworks Marvel. Sounds like things are going well pretty so far. 3-1 in standard, is that right?
3-1, yep.
Yeah, well, awesome. I wish you good games the rest of the tournament. Thanks for joining us here on the Deck Tech. Signing off.